All right. Welcome, my friends. Welcome to Acquisitional Wealth, the podcast that puts the power in your hands. Acquisitional Wealth, the strongest, fastest, most proven way to create life-changing wealth in the history of mankind. I am your host, Josh Tully. I am a serial entrepreneur. I own 12 businesses at the moment of this recording. Who knows? I might have more than that by the time you meet me again. I have owned dozens of them. We have done multiples of tens and tens of millions of dollars in sales. Our clients have done billions in sales. I know this stuff inside and out, and this is the number one place if you want to get real about this whole idea of buying and selling businesses, about acquiring businesses as a path to entrepreneurship. And that's an episode we're going to cover too. We're going to do an episode that talks about Josh's acquisitional wealth, the same thing as entrepreneurship through acquisition. They are similar, but they're also different. But we'll get to that later. On today's episode number 2, and if you're just joining us at episode number 79, go back and listen to all of the episodes. Listen to them in order. Really, just binge the thing. On your commute, just listen to them all. But on episode number 2, I want to talk about a really early elephant in the room that happens whenever I talk to people who are trying to make the transition from a career to entrepreneurship. And that's this idea of starting a business. Today's episode is going to talk about, Josh, should I start a business or buy one? And if you listen to episode 1, I told you that there are arguments for both, and we're going to cover that. So how did this even come to being as a topic? Over the course of the past 25 years, 27 actually, I have been talking to people about buying and selling businesses, growing businesses, starting businesses. And I noticed that a lot of people first assume that starting a business is the only way to go about it. And as hard as that is for me to fathom, it's absolutely true. And I know that there are listeners of this episode who are in that same category. They are thinking to themselves, wait a second, you mean you can just buy a business? So that's category 1, people who've never thought about it. Category number 2 are people who have the pride, and pride cometh before a fall. Pride keepeth thou broke. But they have this pride of, well, I'm going to start a business. I'm going to do it better than anybody else. I have something that's extremely better than what can be offered now. And it's just insanity. It's just insanity. We're going to cover that too. And then the third type of person is the person that truly does have something unique, that truly does have the new revolutionary thing. And we're going to work this list backwards and start with the third first. And before we do, I will tell you that today's episode is brought to you by Kingsbridge. Kingsbridge is the place where you want to go to get deals done. Not only do they help you buy, sell, flip, acquire businesses, but they also help you with other sort of facilitation of brokerage services, like defined asset brokerage. There's not another brokerage in America that I know of that does things like defined asset brokerage or offer you those 10 months of care after a purchase for those people who are just thinking, man, I'd love to buy it, but what do I do once I own the thing? So go to kingsbridgebrokers.com or just Google Kingsbridge, and I'm sure that it'll pop up for you. All right, so with that being said, let's work this thing backwards. The third type of person, the rare of the rare, is the person who has a business idea that is truly unique. Truly unique. If you really think about most of the business ideas that you have, there's somebody out there that's doing something just like it already. And I know what you're going to say, Josh, it's not just like it. I have a better widget. I have a better system. I have a better tool. I have a better invention. I have a better blah, 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 blah. Hogwash. It might be, but it's absolutely irrelevant. I have met amazing inventors. I have met people who have invented batteries that make what Tesla does makes what Tesla does look like child's play. I've seen the batteries. I've seen them work. I have met a man that has cured cancer, and that's just not some sort of alternative medicine hyperbole. Congress agrees that he has cured cancer. Johns Hopkins agrees that he has cured cancer. Vanderbilt University agrees that he has cured cancer. I don't care how awesome you think your invention or system or uniqueness is. That's the least important part. I know that's not what the business books are going to tell you. But that's because the business books want to make you feel special. They want to make you feel special and warm, and then they want to sell you something. I want to give you the fast track to where you want to get. Let's say you made a better microphone, just to grab an example. You made a better microphone than Shure. And you were like, well, I'm going to start a company that makes better microphones. Okay, let's just kind of go through this. It's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars to get the engineers in place, the software in place, the manufacturing facility in place, the warehouse in place, the shipping routes in place, the marketing then has to go out, the advertising has to go out, and hopefully then you might sell one. Option 2, you take way less money out of your pocket. You buy an already existing microphone manufacturer, maybe not Shure, they're kind of a big dog, but you buy an alternative. Once you buy that alternative, you're already making more money than you've ever made in your life because now their existing profit model is putting money in your pocket every week. So now you got money, honey. Yeah, but Josh, what about my unique invention? Great. Now you're in a much better place to actually bring that invention to market. What do I mean? Well, you now own a microphone manufacturing company. See where I'm going here? You already have engineers in place. You have equipment in place. You have facilities in place. You have an audience that's already in place. An audience? Yeah. Not only do you have the team that can make your better microphone, but you have a list of the 20,000 people that this company has already sold microphones to. So when you come out with your better way of doing things, you don't have to start at zero. You can go back to those 20,000 people and say, hey, we have a new, better microphone coming out. And as a thank you for your loyalty in the past, we're going to give you X% off of this brand new, awesome sauce microphone. See what I'm saying? So when I meet an inventor who even has a very, very, very unique way of doing this, my response is still the same. Buy the business. Don't start one. Let's talk about category number 2. Category number 2 is the guy who's full of pride. The guy who's saying, or gal, who's saying, well, I can do it. I want to plow through the field. I want to swashbuckle my way to the treasure. I want to Paul Bunyan my way through the forest. You get the analogy, right? Pick one. This is just stupidity on a stick. It's just stupidity. I mean, to be quite honest, when you talk to real business people and you have that mindset, do you know what we think of you? That's stupid. If you're a really good business person, which you're claiming to be, your first move would say, okay, is there anybody who I can just take over and bounce myself 20 levels ahead of where I'm at? I mean, even if you're successful, going your way, and you're like, well, I'm going to start a mouse manufacturing company because I can do it better. And you're doing it out of pride. You're not unique. You're just going to make a different mouse. It's going to take you years, even if you're on the fast track of success, to get where you could have been in 60 to 90 days. You can buy a business in 60 to 90 days or less. The fastest deal I've ever done was 2 days. The second fastest ever deal I've done is 11 days. Now, those are rare. I get it, but I've been doing this hundreds of years, it seems, right? But even if you go the long route of, say, 6 months to acquire your target business, what does that mean for you versus where you could have been? What that means, even if you have a decent mouse, computer mouse, by the time you get it through R&D, get your prototype made, get it shipped from probably the third world country that you're going to buy it from, back to the United States, into the marketplace, even if you're going to sell on Amazon. Great. We help people in there too. So, you get it to the Amazon fulfillment center. All of that time and money, and maybe this works, you could have eliminated all of that by buying an already existing company in that industry. And then the first type of person is the person who's thinking to themselves, and this is by far the most common. Most people aren't dumb enough to be that prideful. In full disclosure, I have been. I've been that prideful. I should have bought a company when instead I've started one. Ha! See? This is what I love about this show. I will share with you my failure stories. Abso-stinking-lutely, man. I've been doing this forever. I have failure stories out the wazoo. I have more success stories than failure stories, but I have failure stories out the wazoo. But I was that dumb guy. Most people aren't that dumb guy. Most people fall between category 1 and category 3. Category 3, again, quick reminder, is that category that thinks they really do have something unique. Usually they don't, but they really think they do. Still smarter to buy it than start it. And category 1, by far the most common category of people, are people who just don't realize you can start ahead of starting a business. And you do that by buying one. The reason why, if it hasn't been made glaringly obvious so far, you get to start usually with less money. Really. If you look at the average cost of what people will spend on a startup, sure, you can start a lemonade stand with $100. Got it. But on average, before you start churning in any revenue, you're going to spend somewhere between $30,000 and $50,000 to make $1. Wow. Well, for $50,000, you could have bought a business, have that $50,000 be a 10% down payment on a $500,000 business that produces you $100,000 to $170,000 a year take home. Really? Yes. Well, Josh, I only make $40,000 now working as a manager at Chick-fil-A. Yep. Then get yourself out of there and get rich. It's that simple of a discussion. I don't understand why people have any hesitancy. I really don't. I mean, what's your other option? What? Work at Chick-fil-A as that manager. Hopefully save up enough money to do your startup when you're tired after work. And then hopefully somebody buys it to the point where it replaces what you're making at Chick-fil-A. And not to throw Chick-fil-A under the bus, I probably mentioned it because I had a chicken sandwich this morning. But you get the point. And the point is, once you realize you can buy a company, game over. And then the next sort of objection that typically comes up, or not even objection, that's not the right word. The next question, because nobody's ever thought of this enough to really object to it, is, well, Josh, I mean, if a business is profitable, why would they sell it? I cannot tell you how often newbies ask me that question. It is by far the number one question I get. If a business is profitable, why are they selling it? Why wouldn't they? I mean, seriously, let's ask that question in reverse. Why would you not sell a profitable business? When do you think is the right time to sell it? When it's losing money? Good point, right? I mean, you would never sell a non-profitable business unless, and there's an asterisk to this, unless it's a publicly traded company, then it's a whole nother set of rules, and we're going to do an episode completely on that. But I'm talking about Main Street, mid-market sort of businesses. The best time to sell it is when it's profitable. Now, let me give you some reasons why a lot of businesses are for sale. First, age. The average age of a business owner in this country is 57 to 59 years old. That's the average. Well, what do we know about averages? Averages are the cream of the crap, right? Basically, it's the top of the bottom of the top. So for every 59-year-old, there has to be some 20-year-old douche-knot who owns the vape store in the strip mall on the corner. And there's an 87-year-old guy who's still owning his Italian restaurant that he started when he came over on the boat, to get that as an average, right? Well, that's a high average. Well, what does that mean? That means people are looking to sell. Why? Because they're getting older. At some point in your life, you're going to hit an age where you're like, you know what? I'm done. I'll give you a couple examples. I was working a deal with a guy who was in his mid-70s, making good money. But his whole desire now, because everything's paid for, house is paid for, kids are married, there's money for the inheritance, like everything's done. He told me point blank, I want to die in the Caribbean. I want to move to an island in the Caribbean. Hopefully I have another 10, 15 years left, but I want to move to the Caribbean, enjoy my remaining time as a beach bum. I've worked my business for a very long time. It's profitable. Now's the time to sell it, and I'm going to go there, and that's the last place I'm going to go. I'm going to go live on vacation. Well, that's a huge motivator. Huge. And I, again, because I do this every day, all day, I have talked to limitless, like I'm going to say hundreds, and you'll be like, oh, that's probably a made-up number. No, it's probably in the thousands of business owners who are getting to that age where they're like, dude, I'm done. I've talked to people doing 50, 60, 70 million dollars a year who are like, dude, what else do I need? I'm out. I want to fish. I want to hunt. I want to spend time with the grandkids. I want to live on that boat where you can just live on a yacht or a cruise ship. That's a real thing, by the way. So number one reason, age. Number two reason, kind of related, health. And I say kind of related because I know guys who own roofing companies, and by the time they're 33 years old, they're going, dude, I am way, way, way too beat up. I'm way too beat up. I got to get out of this. So it's not necessarily age. It's just wear and tear. There is a lot of that. There's a lot of that where it's a health issue where, you know, like, let's just say you're making $1 million a year. You've made $1 million a year for the past 10 years. Everything's paid off. You got what you want. And the doctor says you have even 5 years to live. We won't make it like 6 weeks. You got 5 years to live. What are you doing? Most likely, you're going to stop doing whatever you're doing Monday through Friday. You're going to sell your business or quit your job. Well, that's the bad part about employment. You couldn't quit your job. You would sell your business if you owned one, and you would get on with life. What's the third reason people sell businesses? Divorce. A lot of businesses in America, the vast majority of businesses in America, 31 million of them, are not these big corporate publicly traded companies where the next CEO just gets into the next spot, right? A lot of them are mom and pops. Well, if you've ever been through a divorce, what happens? Split the assets. That applies to businesses too. So a lot of people sell divorces. No, that would be Ashley Madison or whatever the cheating website is called. No, a lot of people sell their business because they're going through a divorce or they got out of a divorce or they're going into a divorce. You get the point, right? And number four is they want to do something else. I know a guy who I was working a deal with, made great money, $300,000 a year. Great business. It required very little of him a week, maybe 15 to 20 hours. So we're not talking about 80, 90-hour weeks like you've been taught entrepreneurship has to be. And he just wanted to move on to other things. He was done. He capped out with what he wanted to do, accomplish, and learn in the industry he was in. He had some larger goals now. He had some larger projects in mind and things that he wanted to accomplish. And he couldn't do that while he's owning the business he has. So he wants to sell it and move on to something else. So when you look at those four reasons, it's no longer a question of, well, if a business is making money, why would they sell it? It's more of a, oh, duh. No wonder millions of businesses are going to change hands in the next several years. Just makes sense, like gravity or math. So you really have to kind of look at that. The other thing you want to look at when you're weighing this idea, do you buy a business or do you start one? What are the odds of success? What are the odds of success? When you look at things like employment has a terrible, terrible success rate. There are a lot of people out there, including a lot of spouses, and I'm not saying which sex, I'm just observing that typically in a marriage, when one person wants to advance and grow through entrepreneurship, the other one's like, no, man. So I'm just saying, there's typically people out there, spouses, that are under this impression that employment provides security. Employment provides financial stability. It does not. The riskiest thing you can do with your life in terms of financial gain or risk, worst thing you can do is be employed. It's stupidity on a stick. Most likely, you're going to lose your job either by your own volition, like you're just sick and you move. This is why most people don't keep their jobs longer than 5 years. You're going to get fired. The company's going to fail, or you die. And either way, it's not successful. I get this all the time. Well, I got to put food on the table and pay the bills. If it was working, you wouldn't have bills. It's just kind of a duh. But we get lured into this idea of financial security through employment. It's not there. Matter of fact, you can look up tons of statistics on how terrible it is. I've written 2 books on this subject. Quit Your Job or Die and Evangelpreneur. And I detail in those books how, statistically speaking, employment is bad for your marriage. It's bad for your health. It's even worse for your health if you're a woman. Your odds of getting diabetes go up if you work 40 hours a week and you're female. I don't know why that is. It just is. It's terrible. It's the number one place for heart disease and cancer. It's nuts. It's nuts. Employment is a leading cause of teen pregnancy in a home, teen drug use in a home, teen runaways out of a home. It's terrible. So there goes employment. Well, what about real estate? Real estate investment, contrary to what people like Uncle G, if you know who that is, you'll get the reference. But contrary to what real estate investors want you to believe, do not make money. Bigger Pockets is a great website for real estate. Again, I'm in real estate, so this is not an attempt to put down real estate. Understand that, please. I'm just talking about if you were to do something and look at success rates, where do you go, right? According to an article on Bigger Pockets, 95% of real estate investments lose money. It's not this euphoric utopia that you think or have been sold that it is. Well, what about stocks? Nope. Mutual funds? Nope. Your odds of having a successful mutual fund, and I get the whole, I do today what others won't, so I can do tomorrow what others can't, sort of perverted mindset, is this idea that, well, if you just get high-paying, 7 to 10% mutual funds and hold on to them for the long term, that's the way it'll work. Let me ask you a question. How many of you, if you play blackjack, or at least know how it's played, if you got dealt 2 face cards, would say, hit me to the dealer? Nobody on planet Earth would say, hit me. As a matter of fact, if you did that in a casino, even the dealer will say, whoa, are you sure you want to hit? The casino itself will try to stop you from being so stupid and just handing them your money. Well, your mutual fund plan, your whole 401k, your whole, self-directed IRA, your whole mutual fund plan has the odds of success at half of what it would be if you said hit and not breaking. Saying hit and not breaking is twice as likely to happen as your financial security is coming from a mutual fund. Sorry, Dave Ramsey. Like that's just not how math and life work. Well, what about gold and silver? I'm in that too. Everything I've mentioned, I'm in. So, but yep, I'm in gold and silver. It's a great way to hedge against inflation, market value, all that sort of stuff. I've written articles on that. You can Google them. But does it create wealth? No. All you're hoping it does is protect you from loss. That's it. Unless you're mining gold, but then that's a whole different conversation. But even then, I would buy an already existing mining business. I wouldn't start one. But no, so no to the gold. Well, what about VC-backed startups? What if I have a really good startup that's backed by the VCs? No, they have a 75% failure rate. So if you're looking at what's secure, starting something, a startup business, man, you're talking 80, 90, 95% failure rates. It's not just, 8 out of 10 businesses fail. That's broad stroke. If you break that down to startup little mini companies that you could start out of your house, it's like 96, 95% failure rates. So nope, wouldn't do that either. So what's the failure rate when you buy a business? What's the failure rate? Well, Josh, it's got to be 90%. No. Even the bad case scenarios that I find out there say 70%. Well, that means you have a 30% success rate. On the bad case, I mean, that's the people who hate what we're talking about. Well, 70% of those businesses you buy fail. I wouldn't do that. Well, it's better than everything else by a multitude of 200 to 300% better than everything else we just mentioned. So I would still do it. But that's not the actual number. When you do this right, and what do I mean by right? Well, when you listen to these episodes, right? When you read Acquisitional Wealth, the book, when you partake in like the industry itself, you're looking at businesses that qualify. And by qualify, I mean that you've checked it out, your broker has checked it out, your accountant's checked it out, your lawyer has checked it out, their lawyers checked it out, their accountant checked it out, their broker checked it out, they themselves checked it out, you've checked it out, the IRS has accepted the tax forms, the SBA has looked at the financials and said, yes, we checked this out, the bank you're getting a loan from has said yes. There is nothing that you buy that has more people check it out and verify it than a business. If you do it for real. I'm not talking about, well, I know a guy who has a painting company and we just made a contract between ourselves and I paid him $20,000 and now it's mine. Yeah, you're going to fail. I mean, good luck, Chuck. But I'm talking about when you do this for real, there's no transaction that you're ever going to have in your life that has more people verify and check off that this is going to work than buying a business. And when you do that, and you pick businesses that are 5 years old or older, that do $1 million in revenue or more, and if you think, well, I can't afford a business that does $1 million in revenue. Yes, you can. You don't need $1 million to buy it. But when you look at those criteria, 5 employees, 7 employees, stuff like that, when we'll talk about that in future episodes, your failure rate is 2 to 3%. Not your success rate. Your success rate is 96, 97, 98%. The failure rate, 2 to 3%. Why? Because you're buying something that has already been proven to make money. As long as you can buy the deal in a strategically advantageous form, we'll get to that, and as long as you don't screw the pooch basically and just blow the thing up once you buy it, we can help you with that too. But as long as you do that, there is nothing that is faster, stronger, more proven to create life-changing wealth than acquiring wealth, than acquiring businesses. So when you look at that, at the end of the day, and as we round up this episode, do you start a business or do you buy one? 99.7927% of the time, buy one. That's it. That's this episode. All right, so what do we do now? Follow, subscribe, whatever you're viewing or listening to this from. Please follow us, subscribe to us, listen to all the back episodes too. Binge watch this thing. We are on audio-wise. We podcast on Stitcher, iHeart, iTunes, a bunch of other places where you can get podcasts. Pretty much everywhere you can get a podcast. We also have the video up on YouTube. And some other video platforms. We have a totally free, and it really is free. I'm doing fine financially. We don't need to charge for our Facebook group. We have a totally free Facebook group that you can join. We have other teachers, content creators, just tips and sharing stories and sharing, leads and who knows what. It's a great group. So you can find us on Facebook, Acquisitional Wealth there. Like I said, we either have the book out already or the book is about to come out, whichever happens to be when you're listening to this episode. You can follow me at joshtully.com. and find out more about what I'm doing and what I might have to offer outside of this show that you might like, just saying, that's there. But either way, thank you for joining us on episode 2 of Acquisitional Wealth. And you will not want to miss episode 3. And as we go, folks, we're going to do giveaways and prizes, and I might even help somebody with their down payment for a business. This is going to be radically different than all of this Insta expert, how to buy a business and acquire stuff sort of crap that's out there. I made this show and this program in this book to purposely counter all of the damaging stuff that is out there. I have helped thousands of people grow, buy, sell, start businesses. And this program, this effort, this whole acquisitional wealth sort of thing is designed for the sole purpose of putting real skills, real talent, real resources, real experts in your field so you can take advantage of them in their field and they can help you grow that massive wealth. So God bless. Thank you so much for watching, listening, and I will talk to you in episode 3.